another. And that's my job to help you do that. And why you should listen to me is very clear and very simple, and I'll say it to you with great care. Regularly, the best pitch will get the investment over the best idea. And that's the case. I know you'll sit there and you'll say, my idea is great and my idea is terrific and his isn't, but if he or she pitches it better than you, they'll get the investment. And that's what I'm here to help you to do, is to explain your business and to tell the story of your business so that if it is a great idea, that you get the investment. The other point I would make to you is, it's not my job to tell you whether your business ideas are good or bad. There's loads of other people who will do that. My job is to get you to tell that story in the most exciting, the most interesting, and the most engaging way. That's my job. And I think I do that reasonably well, or pretty good. So, that's what I'm here to do, help you pitch your business into orbit. Take a moment to read that. And I can tell you that message differently in a slightly humorous way. Billy Connolly says that if you need to understand someone, you need to walk a mile in their shoes. And if at the end of the mile you don't understand them, you're a mile away and you have their shoes. Now, why I'm telling you this and why I'm telling you the Billy Connolly story is that when you turn up, and most of you have said in some way or another, most of you said we need sales, we need to get out and talk to people, we need to generate, we need to do that. All of you have said that in some way. Some of you have said it very specifically, some of you have said it in a roundabout way. And that's part of this program, a very important part of this program. The first thing I regularly say to people when we sit down to create the pitches, who are you going to raise an invoice to? And the lots of times that the startups I talk to don't know. And it's one of the things I want to know first and foremost is who are you going to raise an invoice to? And if you don't know, we'll work out and we'll do that. So first and foremost, the way I look at this and how I'm talking to you in terms, there's a sales template. My job, presenting is very simple. I have a friend of mine who's a sports psychologist, and Neil talks, a man called Neil Bryan, he coaches some of the top golfers and some of the top sports people. He's just coaching at the moment, Kelly Proper, who's doing really well. And what he says to them is, it's about the basics, it's about getting the basics right. And if you listen to Paul O'Connell being interviewed on the television after Ireland haven't played well, after Munster haven't played well, he said, we didn't get the basics right. Our line-out wasn't straight, our scrum collapsed too often, we're going to go back and practice the basics. And sometimes you'd wonder why, you know, soccer players of 33 and 34 years of age are still practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. You think they'd know it all by this stage, but you still need to know the basics. You still need to be absolutely confident that the day you turn up to do the important thing, that the basics will stand to. And in presenting, the basics are very simple. You've got to get the audience's attention in the first 20 seconds. Otherwise, they don't stop listening and they go off checking their emails as they only do, and they'll check their tweets or whatever that is. So you've got to get their attention in the first 20 seconds. At the end of the conversation, you've got to tell them how they're better as a result of what you're suggesting. Not how you're better, how they're better. And in between, there's a structure that gets you from the start to the finish. There's 4 or 5 in classic structures. And what I'll do over the course of the 6 or 7 months is I'll introduce you to those classic structures. So you never have to start with a terrifying thing of a blank page and say, where do we go from here? And the thing that's interesting, this is Ed's presentation. Ed did this for me. And what I did was I gave him a series of A4 pages saying, I want it to look like this, I want this, and I want that, and I want the other on it. And he created this. And that's what you'll do with me. You'll sort of come and you'll tell me, and we'll create blank pages, and then we'll hand them to Ed, and he'll create really cool presentations for you. So let me tell you about the sales template. The sales template, how I explain what I do is, I'd like you to think about a talk or a presentation, particularly a pitch, as planets in space. And the key planet is the planet that sells problem solved. And the number one failing of people who pitch to panels or audiences or judges, and you can think about what you've heard this evening yourselves, is the jury or the pitching panel will say at the end of it, we didn't get the idea. we don't understand the problem that you solve. Because what happens to most people, and particularly salespeople, and I coach salespeople day in, day out, they want to talk about the product and they want to talk about the product because that's where they're comfortable. That's where you spend 3 months or 3 years or whatever it is. So you're happy to talk about the product. But nobody cares about your product. No one has the slightest interest in your product. What they're interested in is the problem your product solves. And in lots of cases, and I see this all the time, people will turn up and they'll come back to me and say, the guy said, oh, it's a given that you can do what you can do. You do, what problem does it solve? We'll take it as a given that you can do it, but tell us about the problem. So you need to tell me right at the beginning, me and the panel, in a simple, straightforward story, this is the problem we solve. Then there's a few planets that orbit around that. And the planets are you, then you need to, and let's be clear about this. What everyone does is they stand up and they say, I'm Andrew Keogh, I'm from Aristo. And nobody cares. Nobody cares who you are. And I see with big companies, we're the biggest company, we're the biggest security company in the world, we employ 570,000 people. Do I care? No. I might care if you tell me how you can solve a major problem for me, then I might want to know who you are. At the beginning, I don't. So excite me about the problem, that how you're going to make my life easier, how you're going to make my life better, how you're going to make my life more profitable. Excite me with that, then I'm likely to say, well, who are these guys? Then you can introduce yourself. And simply from a presentation point of view, and if you take the day that's coming up on the 27th, if 15 of you pitch and you all turn up saying, I'm Andrew Keogh and I'm Aristo and I'm delighted to be here and this is a lovely sunny day and thank you very much for the opportunity. And all 15 of you say the same thing, it gets fierce boring. So start straight into the problem. Give me a headline, give me something that sort of makes me stop in my tracks and say, oh, that's really cool. And if the thing I remember from what you said very simply was, we can make different storage systems in cloud talk to each other. Now I just sort of sat and Jesus, that's really cool. So that's how I'd open my pitch. That's the very first thing I would say. Do you want to be able to do that? Okay, so let me tell you how to do it. Problem is solved, tell me who you are, then you can tell me what you do. But interestingly, the circles also designate the amount of time that you spend there. And you'll notice the do is not nearly as big as the problem. Because I'm still, I'll take it, if it's a problem you solve and it's really exciting, it's really good. In the same way as I would regularly say to people, probably the simplest analogy for this, if I get in my car to drive to Cork to be there for a meeting at 11 o'clock, I don't need to know how the engine works. I just need to know I'll be there for 11 o'clock. So, at some stage, some techie, nerdy guy, before they give you the order for the 3 million or something, will want you to prove it. But the guy who signs the check won't want to know about it. He'll just want to know that you're going to solve a problem for him. So, who you are, tell me what you do, and then finish the conversation by saying, so simply, as a result of what we're going to do, let me tell you how you're better. You're never again going to have the situation that one of your companies uses Dropbox and the other company uses something else and they can't talk to each other. Isn't that what you said you wanted to do? That's the message you deliver. So I don't believe there's such a thing as an investor pitch. I believe there's a sales pitch. I believe if you can sell the product to a customer, an investor will also buy it. The investor needs to see, if you're talking about customers and you're exciting customers and you just basically come back and tell the investor, the customer, remember, simply, if you've got customers, it's easier to get investors. So that's very simply the introduction we'll be talking about early on, just simply how to explain it. And this could be an email, it could be a conversation you have at a sort of a networking event like this, it could be a conversation you have at a Chamber of Commerce event. It could be a letter. They all follow the same classic structure. First and foremost, you have to get my attention. Now, the next one then that terrifies everybody is they say, oh, but tell me about the pitch and how do we do the pitch, and I'm terrified of the pitch and we have to talk to investors, and investors are a strange set of people. They aren't. I know Brian Caulfield, I've played golf with him, he's a very nice man, he has a family, he has children, he walks his dog, he's a human being, and all investors are. I was at an event, I spoke not recently, a couple of years ago out UCD, and John O'Sullivan from Mac Venture Capital spoke before me. And he spent 20 minutes showing slides about how you should fill in the forms and how you should do this and how you should apply and how you should do all these sort of things. And then he came to the end of the talk and he says, I know Andrew's on that. And he says, so let me tell you how we pick companies to invest in. He says, we pick companies to invest in by the companies who come in and tell us the best stories. That's what we do. So my job is to get you to tell the best stories. The most memorable, the most engaging, because you think about it, how many stories do they hear every day? So how is yours going to stand out? I would say your investor pitch is a success if he goes home, if one of those people goes home and tells his wife, let me tell you about the cool idea I heard today. Or he goes back into work and says, I had a really amazing idea today, because he'll have heard 10. So why is yours going to stand out? And that's my job, is to help you get that to stand out. So let me show you what the funding template looks like. You'll notice in lots of cases it's exactly the same. You need to start with the problem, and then you need to tell me some of this stuff. You need to tell me who you are, very briefly. You do need to introduce yourself, but you don't do it at the beginning. And let's click all these others up, and I'll explain them to you. So this is the structure for a funding template. You're very welcome to have the slides. You've got them given to you. You're very welcome. There's no problem with that. So now, you tell me the problem. If you take the example of your problem, you tell me this really exciting problem that you can solve. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, that's really cool. So where do I go next? What's the next really exciting thing I want to tell an investor? If I've got already customers, and I've already some customers on board, and I already have, like I know Evercam have, because we've done some work with Evercam, I'd go straight to telling them about the customers, because that's the thing that's really important. So I'd be telling them about the customers. I got permission to tell it. I've been telling it for years, but I've never been in front. I had restored hearing in the audience before. But let me tell you a story. I met Rona. We were trying to work it out probably about 4 years ago when she was on the campus company development program with UCD. And she was one of about 10 companies, 10 people who I was coaching. And she came and she delivered the pitch. This early on, she came and delivered the pitch, and then we sat down and we had a coffee. And over the coffee, when we were going to sort of work on the pitch, over the coffee she mentioned in casual conversation that they had created their own little sort of Mickey Mouse sort of website. But this sort of Mickey Mouse website, to students in college, had generated sales of 1,200 pieces of kit at $50 each. And I said to her, why wasn't that in the pitch? And she didn't seem like very much. I can now tell you, because I've checked it, because I was told the story in an audience 2 weeks ago, and this guy put his hand up and he says, she's now sold 20,000. But the point is that often you don't realize that the things you've done are really important in terms of sales. Even though they may be only small, what you're demonstrating more than anything else, which is the problem with most startup companies, and again you've suggested this yourselves, the problem with most startup companies is they don't have commercial acumen. They've really bright ideas, they're really clever, but they don't have commercial acumen. So even if it's only an insignificant amount of sales, or even if you haven't got sales, but you've talked to big companies and you've engaged with companies, that's what I want to know. I want to know that you have commercial acumen and that you're not afraid, and you're not going to sit in here for 9 months, and we've seen this from time to time, sit here for 9 months telling me every week you're going to go and talk to customers, and we'll do it next week, and we'll do it next week, and we'll do it next week. I want you to do it week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or week 4. The product doesn't need to be right. You can go and tell them what you're going to do. So if you have some sales, come and tell me about the sales. If you've talked to big customers and they're trialing it for you, they're going to do a beta for you, whatever it is, come and tell me that straight away. On the other hand, if you haven't, but if you have a really bright team like geniuses from UCD, come and tell me about them. Come and tell me about their qualifications, come and tell me about their experience, come and tell me the really cool things they've done. If you've got guys who've written 15 papers and have, who was 15 pieces of 35 pieces of IP, I'd then go, problem, I'd now go and talk about the team. And now go and tell me about a guy who's got 35 pieces of IP, and this is who I'm going to invest in. In reality, investors invest in the team first and foremost. That's what they look at. They say, can we work with these people? Would we invest in these people? Is this someone who would take advice? Is this someone who we could work with? And if they say no, it doesn't matter how bright your idea is, they won't invest in you. So these are the two big issues still in terms of the investment pitch. Now the other things that will drive you mad and things that everyone focuses on, and you can't answer these questions because in lots of cases it's too early. Tell me about the market. And you get people, and you've all seen this. This is a $35 billion market, and me and the dog is going to get 2% of it in the next 6 months. We've all heard those, haven't we? Yeah. You don't need to tell me about the market or give me numbers if you excite me about the problem, and I see the problem can be something that O2 will buy into and Google will buy into, whatever that is. You can't put numbers on those markets anyhow, because you'd be only guessing. But the investors can much more better, much more cleverly than you. So often the problem solved will tell me the size of the market. Also M stands for milestones. If you've done really interesting things and cool things, tell me about them. Sometimes we particularly have a problem in Ireland that we don't boast. Go to the American, Marco, when he was over in TechCrunch, they wanted him just to make everything bigger, boast. You know, if you say a million, they want you to say 10 million. If they say 10 million, they want you to say 100 million. That's simply how it is, and we just don't do that. We're shy about that. So boast, be boastful. If you have competition, tell us about it. The most scary thing you can do is say there's no competition. If you say there's no competition, it means one of two things. It means there isn't a market, because if there was a market, other people would be trying to do what you were doing. On the other hand, or the other thing it says about that is you've been so engrossed in your little shell or your little office for the last 6 or 9 months or 12 months that you don't know what's going on out there. So far better that you tell me that you have competition, but we're different and we're better, and we see it and we're approaching the market in a different way. But it's much better to have competition than to not have competition. Then clearly, and I've heard Carol answer this, because I took ages to work out how to answer this, and I heard Carol answer this very well. When you're asking for money, the people always say, how much do I ask for? Well, you ask for what you want. That's the honest answer. How much do you need? And you ask for that. And then you explain, in the same way if you met your friend in the pub and you were sitting there and you were short of money and you said, can I have 20 quid? You'd probably say, what do you want it for? You say, I want to get a taxi home, or I want to buy another round of drink, or whatever that is. So if you're asking for something, tell them what you want it for. Explain to them what you want it for. Break it down. We want to sort of hire marketing people, we want to do some techie stuff, but ask. And one of the big problems we do again in Ireland is we don't ask for enough. Log entries, Trevor Parsons from Log Entries. I saw Trevor pitch about 5 years ago that amazing Log Entries idea, and at the end of the pitch he asked for 20,000. And one of the panel said, if you'd have asked for 5 million, I said, why don't you need 10? Interestingly, he got 10 about 6 or 9 months ago. Took him a while to get it, but he's got it. And we just need to be bigger and bolder, and Wire will help you to do that. So that's as much as I'm going to say, but the thing that's really interesting is this all winds back to, and this is presentation technique, this is nothing else other than presentation technique. The pitch has to end up by reminding the audience of how the world is going to be better as a result of what you're doing. Don't get lost in all the dross of the ask and all the rest of it. Finish up by saying, so as a result of this, everyone can talk to everyone else in the cloud as a result of our system, and we're going to be managing that. That's how we're going to be bigger, and how we're going to be better, and that's how you want to finish the pitch. That's me. Don't need to do all that because you'll be seeing it off me. Just to explain my function here, I'm here for the 9 months. I'm in and out. There'll be various sessions where we will work with you. There'll be one-to-one sessions, but also as you come to pitch at events like South by Southwest or TechCrunch or whatever that is, I'll be here to help you with those pitches as well. Thanks very much.